Honorable Mr. Craig Miller and Mr. Trevor Raymond, Mr. Gong Jun, Ms. Wang. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am very honored to be invited by Valterra and to give you this presentation. Today I'll be talking about something related to sustainable development and closely related to green petrochemical. I'll be talking about dual carbon goal leads to the sustainable development of the petrochemical industry. Hope you will have some takeaways. I have a very densely packed slide deck because I was told to share opinions in 4 areas because I used to work at Genetec, a state-owned company, and I used to serve as the general manager of Genetec South Africa. So I'm very honored that actually I already have long-term history with South Africa. Since pandemic, the world has experienced a lot of changes, in particular 5 areas, changes in 5 areas. Firstly, we pay more attention to health, and as you might know yourself, green agriculture. And secondly, the second change is closely related to clean air, clean water. That's why we need to develop hydrogen, as Ms. Wang covered in very excellently in her presentation. And third change is related to sustainable development. We only have only a decade towards attaining the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And in the past, SDG was more of an abstract concept, and now it represents concrete actions from the selection of raw materials all the way to the recycling of materials. Everything belongs to the overall, to the big picture of sustainable development. And fourthly, material science is a task that has been given to us by China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, hoping that we can overcome some bottleneck issues in material science. And last change is about digital. Nowadays, you do not need to carry any cash.
So we can see that the global energy and chemical industry landscape is changing. You can see from the map, only for China, from the upstream exploring and the middle, the production, and you can see that China is increasing, and both for the top, upstream, middle stream, and the downstream. So if we talk about the future, United States and maybe they basically export some key materials and like key raw materials, and for Europe and America they basically give up gradually, and for the traditional and petroleum and chemical industry. And you can see, and Europe they just closed 21 factories, and they will further close another 24 factories. So for the traditional petroleum chemical industries transferred to China and East Asia. So that's why you can see China is actively transit that. Of course, still there are challenges and opportunities of the industry. You can see, and for the dependence and on the resources, and we depend 71% and of the petroleum and the natural gas. Of course, the price changes and of the energy and impacted our industry a lot. I led a team to Europe and US, and all the companies I met, they always talked about overcapacity. So when is the end of China's overcapacity? Because it gives us a lot of the challenges. However, so due to this overcapacity of China and the EU, they closed the capacity. So that's why China is facing a lot of opportunities. But we still face a lot of changes due to the double carbon targets. Of course, we still have the opportunities, including the green transition and the policy dividends and CCUS, hydrogen, and like the primary and petroleum and oil terms to chemical products. And we also had built up the standards and the transportation of hazardous chemical products. We needed to build up an integrated bigger market. So we face the challenges at the same time, and we have the opportunities, of course, the global layout and resource synergy, including the regional market opportunities. We actively talk to Southeast Asian countries and Middle East and South Africa and the African countries. We have the active cooperation. So there is a very a good example. So we set up a company like a JV, and together with Saudi Aramco, and the new materials demand, of course, and is exploding, and the fuel cell and the lithium battery and the film and the PE. So actually, new energy demand these new materials. So like the POE and the PO, and all of these are the important issues we needed to sort out. Okay, so just shared about international trend of domestic trend. So we still need to focus on the big picture, have a look of the current world. So what changes are ongoing in the current world. And you can see, and the global trade and opens slow down, and anti-globalization rises from President Trump's 1.0 to 2.0 version. So China is taking the responsibilities of globalization. However, we still face a huge barrier. So that's why, and this promotes the reconstruction of the industrial chain and the supply chain. And secondly, we clearly see that the global economic growth slowed down, in particularly obvious in developed countries, and the financial system fluctuations. And actually, all the countries are having a reform and for new energy and new technology to promote low carbon actions. Like Ms. Wang just mentioned, more than 60 countries and have under these new targets, and a lot of countries adopt strategies and roadmaps and for low carbon actions. And I also listed the EU. So they have the Hydrogen Development Bank and the Repower EU, and all of this are for accelerating the construction of PV and wind power and the new energy. And we still see there are a lot of the new opportunities. Okay, so if we back to China. And you clearly see that China is actively promote the dual circulation. And how do we build up the integrated big picture within China and build a new pattern for development? And we also need to have a higher level of opening up. For example, so we do not have the RCEP and regional cooperation like the Pearl Delta area and the Yangtze Delta area. So we are talking more about China's cooperation with the neighboring countries like China, Korea, Japan, free trade zone, and China plus CPCIF plus Japan and Korea and Australia, New Zealand. And together with the 15 countries, we build up the biggest free trade zone in the world. And China is also with the GPCA, and we are building the new free trade zone. So you can see trend the bigger. So you can see this is inevitable trend, and RCEP also brings new opportunities for our industry. And from China, we can see the new infrastructure and the new energy and the digitalization promote new growth. For example, and only the digital center market and this category, and there's a growth of 20%. And the clean energy vehicles and NEV, and like Ms. Wang mentioned about the new energy vehicles. And for now, and we already achieved more than 12 million units. So you can see the development is very fast. So same to clean energy. So in the past, we relied 50 to 57% of the coal and electricity, but in the future, and it will be reduced under 10%. And by 2060, will be reduced to 5%. So you can see it is very challenging. Next, I'm going to briefly share with you about some policies promoted by China market. So you know the double carbon, dual carbon target. So year 2025 and laying the foundation, and 2060 and carbon neutrality stage, and 2030 carbon peak stage, and we need to implement this. And you can see we have these new policies and from different state-owned bureaus. And speaking of carbon emission, and the petrochemical industry accounted 8% of the total carbon emission. However, for scope 1, scope 2, so if we are talking about scope 3 emission, and this petrochemical accounted for 77%. So that's why we needed to pay more attention to supply chain emission brought by supply chain. Of course, and for the policy, we still need to focus on the high quality development and structure adjustment. As I said, we started to have this new framework, and from the August 2023, and for now, and have the 3 years action plan, and for bio-based agents. And I already sorted out this for you on this slide. And from the macro policy level, and you can see that the reform of the dual control of the carbon emissions. So from the 14th five-year plan and to 15th five-year plan is a transition for energy consumption period to the carbon emission period. And you can see the State Council and proposed the action plan for 2030 carbon peak plan, and then accelerating the guideline and for the dual control of the energy consumption, and to the dual control of the carbon emission. And you can see for the advanced provinces in China, like Guangdong, Shanghai, and Zhejiang province actively have the facilities and infrastructure. And I wanted to propose this, the product carbon footprint. And we talk about hydrogen, and we talk about the usage of PGMs. So the usage of this can greatly reduce the carbon footprint. Last year, the Ministry of Ecology and Environment and other departments jointly issued the implementation plan for establishment of the carbon footprint management system, which clarified the construction goals and the key missions of China's carbon footprint management system. So from now to the year 2030, you can see all the goals are included. For example, and by 2027, 100 key product carbon footprint and accounting rules and standards, and by 2030, 200 key product carbon footprint accounting rules and standards. So basically, China and Europe's footprint accounting will be mutually certified. And you can see, and there will be a signing and of the BASF and the China Petroleum, and there's a kind of contract will be signed, and to promote and the mutual recognition and of the calculation of the footprint. And we also have the implementation of the new development concept promoting high quality development of the petrochemical industry. So from innovation, restructuring, and the layout and of the industries, low carbon development and safe development. So you can see all the detailed missions and tasks are included, including strengthening organization and infrastructures, improving supporting policies. And in recent years, and we clearly see that the State Council issued an action plan for energy conservation and carbon reduction. So we basically achieved the goal in year 2024, so which shall be achieved in 2025. And we can clearly see that non-fossil energy consumption accounts for 20% by the year of 2024, which was a huge breakthrough. And this is about the Vice Minister of Ecology and Environment, Ms. Guo, said China is firmly committed to the path of green and low carbon development and will make efforts to accelerate the green transformation. And you can see that we basically included the 5 sub-industries into China's ETS market. And if we focus on the 2 sessions this year, you would see some keywords, the green development and innovation-driven, and the upgrading of the industries, so including some guidelines and for the enterprises. So that's why, and there are some warnings. You need to pay attention to the changes of the policies and the tariff barrier. So these are about the hot topics of the 2 sessions this year. And 15 departments jointly issued the national plan for the construction of a national climate change standard system, and including the green certification system and the carbon accounting, emission reduction control, and green certification system. So will be included in one standard. And then the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology officially issued the reference guide for the integration application of industrial internet and petrochemical industry. So all of these are very important strategies. And we launched the first draft of the Ecology and Environment Code. And we also set up a national team for resource recycling, which is called China's Resource Recycling Group. I believe this is a very big advantage to the future recycling of PGM. And I also talked to you and Mr. Qian and from the China Chemical Institution, including the recycling of plastics and the recycling of different metals. And not only have the power from the national team, and then this could be more effective. Of course, and we signed the recycling group and with a strategic cooperation. And I'm going to briefly share with you about the application opportunities of PGMs in the new situation. So yesterday, I believe you shared a lot. So including the carbon neutral and sustainable development and catalyst and the clean energy substitution. And I believe, and you can see that the demand for PGMs and is huge. China is a big country for making hydrogen. You can see that although for now petroleum energy are also accounted for a lot. However, you can see the capacity of hydrogen last year was already over 50 million tons, and you can see the portions. Natural gas basically accounted for 7%. So this is the structures and for hydrogen production, of course, and for the technical route, and people talk about hydrogen production by electrolysis of water, so which is more environment friendly.
So we currently you see the comparison of the various technological pathways of water electrolysis used to produce hydrogen. A comparison of various technological options. So PGM has played a very important role in facilitating green and low carbon transition, just like Mr. Craig Miller mentioned in his opening remarks that all the PGMs can play a key role in that. In terms of new energy and environmental protection, specific segments include chemical catalyst and fiberglass production, environmental protection, and hydrogen-related field. For industrial field, in terms of industrial field for PGM, platinum accounts for more than a quarter of the total demand for PGM, and globally, in total, 227 tons of platinum was its total supply in 2024, and last year's total demand was 8.288 million ounces, which was around 257.8 tons, which means that the market gap last year was 31 tons. I think that Viterra can think about scaling up in order to fill in the vacuum. Ms. Wang just mentioned in her presentation that the vehicle industry has a huge demand and will have a huge demand for PGM, and she mentioned in her presentation that our goal is to have 1 million hydrogen fuel cell vehicle by around 2033. So these basically are what we see as the outlook of PGM down the road. A couple of strategies for the market development of PGM. We need to leverage technological innovation and technological breakthroughs to innovate, to have innovative cases of catalyst or to develop new catalyst. And second, later on, Mr. Tian will be touching upon biodiesel as well as SAF, which represent the new trend of clean and sustainable energy. And just like Ms. Wang mentioned, that associations can be leveraged as platform to jointly promote the development of the industry and deepen value chain collaboration. Lastly, about suggestions, because the low carbon development roadmap for petrochemical industry covers a couple of areas. Firstly, efficiency improvement and emissions management. This is an area that is very much dear to PGM, CCUS, and the development of a hydrogen economy, the creation of plastics circular economy, the development of low carbon advanced materials. These are some of the key dots on the roadmap of green low carbon development of petrochemical industry. And China's carbon peak and carbon neutrality represent new opportunities, tremendous opportunities in new areas, and in particular, industry synergy can give rise to new business models. Let me give you an example. In Europe, Catena X is a clean transformational solution that has found synergy with the vehicle industry. As for corporate strategy suggestions, companies firstly must set their goals to attain carbon neutrality and carbon peak, and then they have to make investment, they have to make relevant decisions, have talent, and achieve ecosystem synergy. As for action plan or action suggestions, you might have heard the BASF's specific practice in optimizing their energy mix and using green energy to replace their existing non-green electricity. Information disclosure and public perception is also very important, including ESG-related disclosure. And Covestro has set an exemplary case in supply chain and circular economy cooperation. And also, BASF has a carbon emissions monitoring and digital platform. So some of the suggestions. Lastly, it's very clear that policy is encouraging the industry to achieve low carbon and green transition, and the roadmap is very clear concerning collaboration, technological breakthrough, circular ecosystem, and actions play a key role here. Closed loop ecosystem so as to achieve reductions of emissions from the raw materials to the manufactured products. And lastly, low carbon and win-win results as well as ecosystem building. So much from me, and you can add me on my WeChat, because on the left-hand side you see my personal WeChat account, and on the right-hand side you see our official WeChat account. We post articles regularly to share with you the latest updates of our industry. I always like to say that those working in the petrochemical industry have a deep mission. What about mission? What does mission mean? Mission means a wonderful story where you can deliver on your personal commitment and also meet the need of the world. So from petrochemical industry, our mission, our joint mission is to achieve low carbon, high quality development. Thank you very much.